On this episode of the podcast, I have with me Amanda Kahlow. She is CEO and founder at OneMind, and we're going to be talking about AI and the sales process. And we're going to talk a little bit about what to expect, what can change, what's the opportunity, where will the AI begin, end, and where's the human sit? And do we need less, more people? A whole host of questions for Amanda, but thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. All right, OneMind, what do you guys do there before we dive in?
Yeah, OneMind. So I was the founder and former CEO of 6 Sense. My line to the market is I started 6 Sense to find buyers and now OneMind to close them. At OneMind, we are building what we call Go To Market Superhumans. It's a face, voice, and double click. It's really about the Go To Market brain that can do the thing that a human can do across the life cycle of the buying journey. Everything from inbound on the website. She doesn't just qualify. She gives the pitch. She can go all the way to close. Of course, she can qualify and book meetings as well. And then she can be in the sales process. She can be a ride-along sales engineer, join calls, answer the tough questions. She can give a demo, and all the way through to customer success for onboarding, renewals, et cetera, to engage your buyers across their entire journey.
Absolutely. Love it. All right. This episode, we're going to be talking about, I guess, the impact of AI on a lot of different go-to-market areas that you just touched on. I guess let's maybe talk about that. When we talk about, there are AIs and they can help us in these various areas, some of the few areas that you mentioned. To what degree are things purely AI driven versus, you still have that human in the loop? Like what are you seeing on the market, and what do customers realize when they're implementing an AI on the sales side?
Yeah, I think if you break it down by the jobs that need to be done across go-to-market. So if you think about it, I like to think about everything from the buyer perspective. So I always put the buyer lens on, right? So when I'm learning, and we all know that 70 to 80% of the buying journey is done before talking to a human, right? So we're out gathering our information, matching those up to our requirements of our organization. And that's where I think today humans don't get to talk until they're further along in the process. But what if you could actually have a conversation earlier, because you take away the friction of having a human that once I get on the line with a salesperson, they're going to send me 15 follow-ups and ask me 100 questions. And now I'm on the hook to tell them whether we're moving forward or not. And I want to go through the process in my own way. But what if you could actually have a two-way conversation and really have that empathetic buying experience immediately when somebody is in the early stages of the buyer's journey? So in the early stage of the journey, I think, what we're offering is, and what we think AI can do is to really bring to life all of your content and the solutions that you offer and answer them in the most empathetic way that helps the buyer move fast in their process. Later in the journey, if you think about where humans do well when we need to build a relationship. Humans do well at understanding the nuances of the way somebody says something. I do think AI is actually moving in that direction. We're actually ourselves building a lot of emotion and understanding when somebody says no, but they actually mean yes. So like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm going to buy, but you actually meant no, or the other way around, right? So, there are pieces of like that relationship where actually a human needs to come in. But even in a deep enterprise sales cycle, I might just have 2 or 3 questions. I don't want to get on the phone with somebody. I actually don't want to dig around your website or your knowledge base to find the answer. So what if I could just come and talk to your superhuman and ask the question? Like, if I have a question, are you multilingual? We're fully multilingual now. And they don't want to get on the line with a rep. It's not on our website. They don't want to dig for the answer. They just want the quick answer right there. So you're giving control back to the buyer. And I think that's really the beauty of AI, is that we live in a world where buying and selling used to happen in a one-way format. Like when you're going online, you go to a website, the buyer has to navigate through thousands of pages of content to find what relates to them. It's actually archaic if you think about it. So now we get to take all that content and bring it to life without the pressure of having a human in the loop.
What's interesting is I just posted an episode about an AI for the medical community, and essentially the AI is doing the triage work. So the doctor doesn't ask, every doctor comes in, they go through the same set of questions. They're going through a decision
Yep.
tree of what possible symptoms are going to lead to what possible, scenarios. So, that triage component could be done by a non-human. And I think if anyone has probably called into the car, if you need a car service, you call in, you don't speak to the service member many times. You speak to somebody who takes the appointment just to get the car there. And I don't know if there's a lot of value for me in that process. I just need that person to actually do that. Now, if it wasn't a person, it was an AI, would I be upset? I mean, there's been many enterprise sales software opportunities where the first call is somebody who's, again, doing just the intake. There's not a lot of loss to me if there was a set of questions I could have just spoken to, instead of actually having a form, I could have just spoken to it. And I feel like people, when they hear about these solutions, have a reaction because they feel the threat that a job is going to be taken from them. And I don't know if there's a job that a lot of people necessarily like interacting with in many cases. I think that's an interesting scenario where what you described is an intake in many cases, and it's something that could be automated.
Well, I think there's two ends of the spectrum. I think, yes, the very simple task of, in a B2B sales process, the SDR, the commercial sales rep, they don't have necessarily the depth of knowledge that you're going to get from a strategic AE or a sales engineer or solutions engineer. So it's obvious that, all they're there, the SDR is just there to qualify and book the meeting with the AE, right? If you qualify, if you're somebody that we should talk to that match our ICP and who we want to sell to and have a pain point that we solve, I'm going to get you on the calendar with an AE. But think about that from the buyer perspective. That's awful. I'm actually here showing up because I want to learn about your solution and I have a real problem that you actually can solve, but you can't talk to me about it. All you're here to do really is to qualify me. And that's unfortunate. So, but I think AI takes it one step further to say there's definitely that far left side, like you're talking about, where it's just the very simple task-based, not a lot going on there. There's not a lot of depth. But on the very other end of the extreme is your sales engineer or solutions engineer that hold all the domain knowledge and expertise and vertical expertise of the products you sell. And the AE can't match that. And so you have to bring these specialists onto calls so that they can really speak the language of the customer. I actually think AI does incredibly well on that side too. So can truly understand the pain points of, I was talking to a company this morning, they sell to government and they sell to insurance. And so they're putting all these business value specialists in place that understand insurance because it's a very nuanced industry and understand government relationships, right? The AE that, there are 20 enterprise sellers don't understand government and insurance and actually be able to sell an enterprise deal. So they're bringing these specialists in. But what we're suggesting is instead of those specialists, let's bring an AI onto the call that can answer the questions and really understand that complexity. So actually on the far right side of the highly complex and highly nuanced, I actually think an AI can do exponentially better than a human. It's the stuff in the middle. It's the relationship stuff. It's the fuzzy stuff. It's navigating the org, finding the next step, the nuance of the conversation sometimes to know what the next place to go to, that I don't think the AI is quite there yet of being able to do all the stuff in the middle in an enterprise sale. I do think we will get there and we'll get there faster than people think, but it's not there today.
Absolutely. I guess when I hear about AI solutions, I think the one thing that my mind quickly goes to is the process. There'll be an adjustment to the process. And I guess from that standpoint, the salesperson either has assistance somewhere, this AI, or the AI is interacting with information and handed off to whoever is using the AI. There's a change to the process. When you're looking at, and obviously you mentioned many different functions within Go To Market, but when we are looking at the change management of people who've been very used to doing certain aspects of their job, and now we're saying, hey, there's a tool that's going to help you, and you'll have some assistance in areas that potentially your company wants you to have assistance in. That change management, can you maybe talk to us a little bit about how that actually gets implemented, and whether it's a training thing, whether it's actually, I'll let you answer it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the human aspect of the change management is one of the hardest things that we have to go through, whether it's just using the AI in your day to day and saying how much. I've seen everything from, one of our customers said that they had 1,500 agents that they're employees built across the organization. So like everybody has a mandate to go build an agent and figure it out and use it in your daily work, your day to day. But what that bred was, oh my God, well, none of them, like there's 100 of them that all look the same and we don't know which one's right and like what good looks like. So I do think there has to be a top-down approach to some of this where we have to, at the higher level, say like, okay, this is how we're going to use it in our organization, and then teach people how to adopt it versus everybody go do it anywhere that you can, because it's a massive time sink as well. You think about building these agents is not always the easiest thing, especially if they're complex and they're a multi-step process. So, like one of the things that we do is we have what we call a ride-along sales engineer. So our superhumans can join calls. And there is a change management that has to happen because the reps have to bring it onto the call. So the reps have to bring it, and then they have to trust it to call on it, to answer the question. Right. So I think the number one thing, and to your question previous and this question, whether people are going to adopt it and get used to it, and the change management, is trust. Like if we can trust this, if it starts to give us information that's useful and meaningful and answers the question, then quickly people will get more comfortable with using AI, with using what we call superhumans. But that is just, and I always say like, okay, just bring it and don't ask it any questions, or ask it the one question, or after the call, keep it on the call. At the end of the call, say, hey, can you summarize this for me? What questions did I miss? Wow. Like it's there to help you. What did I miss? So next time I can do better. You can go into like the recordings of your gong calls and everything else and get that after the fact and go read it. But what if right in the moment you get feedback? And so it can make me better. And then you trust it to actually answer the question. So it's like baby steps to get there. But I think that is one of the hardest things with AI right now is change management across the organization. And I think that's a huge opportunity for, the big consultancies and companies like Winning by Design and others that can help people adopt tools at every level.
It's interesting as you're describing that scenario. I recall at one point in my career, I was a BI practice manager, sold data solutions. I wasn't the salesperson; I was the practice manager. So I was with salespeople in that process, and we get in a room, and something be said, and I knew, the account exec has to know this because it's going to change our pitch or in the moment. And I'm there writing it down on a legal pad or piece of paper and hoping this person's going to glance down, take a look, and then kind of connect the dots from my, jotted down phrase so that and I was just thinking, how interesting would it be if there's an AI listening to the conversation and could actually give me that feedback in real time and be like, hey, listen, this is something you might have missed. Like you need to key in on this. And, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to seeing those legal courtroom scenes where somebody scribbles furiously in the movies, this term, and they're hoping the other lawyer's going to look at it. I mean, just as an example, so others who've not been in those situations.
I love that. And what's so interesting about that though, which I think is actually not going to work, is like what I call that the swivel chair. There's a lot of AI solutions right now that are listening on the call and tell you what to say over here. You and I are having a conversation and I had something over here telling me what to say. And I can't do it, just like that person didn't read the legal pad. Like I can't carry on the conversation and keep it going and look over here and know what to say. But what if you had an AI that was there that you could just trust to say, hey, do you have anything else to add? And they can just come in, or they raise their hand and say, like, if the AI is like, I've got something to add there. And then you let them talk because you trust that what they're going to say is going to be valuable in the situation. So I actually think all of the armchair quarterbacks and like these swivel chairs aren't going to work. The other thing that humans are really bad at is when I'm on a call and I'm in conversation, I don't know where the call is going to go most of the time. You have a sense for it. You have an agenda, you're going to go in a certain direction, but you don't know what their real pain points are or and if you knew everything, then you would come and you wouldn't have to have any prep or anything else, right? So if you knew where it's going to go. And in that moment, I know I want to share a case study or share a slide or say something, but I can't go get it. If you ask me, hey, Amanda, what's your technical architecture? I have it over here in this deck. I know exactly where it is, but I can't carry on the conversation and keep it going. And so in that moment, just like that real-time ability to bring content up, to add color to whatever is being talked about is actually, I always think of it as the AI we're not setting out to be as good as a human. We have to be exponentially better than a human. And so the places where we're not better are like the relationship stuff and like the fuzzy knowing exactly where to go next. But the recall, the memory, the information, the context, the ability to really truly do deep solution selling already exponentially better than a human.
Let me ask you about that. And I consistently hear that the bar for the AI is higher than the bar for a human. And I don't have the stats, so I'm not going to quote numbers because people will be like, I got it wrong anyways. But I'm sure there's stats out there about human error within driving versus self-driving cars, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they're out there. But in general, humans, we make a lot of errors. But for some reason, we like our machines that we use to be more error-free. And I don't know if it's a control thing, if it's an illusion of control. I think that's why a lot of people are fearful of flying airplanes, because they don't have the controllers. Somebody else is controlling their fate. But when we look at this bar that AI has to be better, talk to us a little bit about that. And when you come across that question, how do you handle that?
I love that question. One of the first things I say when people are like, oh, is it going to say the wrong thing? Is it going to hallucinate? My immediate retort is, do your humans hallucinate? And how often do they do it? And do they do it knowingly and nefariously? Meaning they know they're making the answer up to get the deal done, to move the deal forward, to just get past the question. They are lying. Like, they know they're lying. Maybe not the worst of intentions. It might be a little white lie, or like skirting around it, or barely answering the question, thinking they're answering the question. If an AI ever hallucinates and it does it once, guarantee you it's never going to do it again, because once it does it once, you correct it and it's not ever going to do that again. Mm-hmm. So the more time and reps it has in the field, and you allow the AI to be out there talking, the less likely it is ever to get anything wrong. And, I make the pretty much guarantee, it can't be 100%, but like 99.9% that our superhumans are not going to go off script of what's in your content. The places where our customers say sometimes, oh, we didn't like that she said that, or she said something wrong. And I'm like, let's go into your docs that you gave us and you put into her brain, and let's see if we can find that answer somewhere. And they're like, oh yeah, because we used to do it that way. Right. And it was in her brain. So let's get it out of her brain. And so we have, the ability to like transparently see what's in your superhuman's brain, so that you make sure that these things don't happen. But that happens more than it actually making something up. It's not making something up. It's typically, it's there. So yeah, that is like where the bar is like so high for AI to never get anything wrong. And usually it's not wrong. It's just saying something you put into its brain that it's outdated, but I always, like your reps are doing it all the time. And not that they're bad people, like we're human.
Yeah. Who hasn't run into the salesperson that is trying to get the deal done? I mean, it is what it is. I can't fault them, and I love salespeople. Don't get me wrong, and I don't blame them for what they're doing. They're human. They're like, there was a EVP at Workday that is a friend of mine who always talks about it in sales, and he talks about this sales brain. Actually, okay, we shouldn't say EVP at Workday. There's an EVP in sales that I'm working with, who talks about his sales reps of having a brain like a dump truck. Once you put something in, you have to take something out, because they only have so much capacity, right? So they only have so much that they can take in. So if we like continue to enable them and train them, and we buy new products and new services, and we're constantly trying to go out and market those services, we have to remember that like stuff's going to come out of their brain. Where it's just the opposite with the AI. Like, you can put unlimited amount of information into the AI's brain, and she's going to remember all of it. It's interesting because salespeople, maybe there's a stigma of being a certain type of personality, driven. Obviously, they want to make money. They have financial incentive. They're also very good at rapport, asking questions. Like, they are exceptional at like detective-like questions to get to what they're hoping to understand, to qualify you, and they will ask you different ways. When we're looking at that skill, and we're looking at AIs that are going to complement them, where does the skill set need to shift at all? Is the skill set remain the same? They just have more time. What happens to the sales rep skills? Where is it magnified? What gets taken away, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think an AI can be trained to do that as well. Like you can, then again, to that limitation of capacity, we train a sales rep on one methodology, on the Sandler method or the MedPick method or the Challenger method or whatever it is, right? We give them one method and like, that's the method you're going to go to market with. Imagine a world where you could train the superhuman with all the methods, use the right one in the appropriate situation. Like qualify, figure out who you're talking to, the way that they're engaging with you, the deal that you want to get done. Is it a commercial deal? Is it an enterprise deal? And be able to bob and weave in the moment with the next methodology. We can't do that as humans because like, I don't know how to do that. I can barely get the one methodology down, right? But the AI can absolutely do that. Don't have to be pigeonholed to just one. I think the role of the rep in the situation, I think the AI will continue to be the transfer of information, of knowledge and understanding, and being the best empathetic seller, if you will. The role of the human, at least for now, is to navigate the org, navigate the buying process, get the next steps on the calendar, figure out who else, look into other systems. Those things can happen as well because there are workflows that we can build to do that. So it's on our roadmap to do those things. But right now, I think the most valuable thing is just be able to give the best pitch and align to the needs of the buyer in that moment when they're interested. And if we can do that really well, all the rest will fall into place. And the reps hopefully will turn into order takers, right? And it'll be natural selection of who chooses what product. You're going to be choosing the product that's best for you because you can quickly get the answers and the information related to your needs in your business immediately.
Maybe final question outside. Well, maybe we'll see. This one was interesting because I was thinking about what you said. If we're going to be able to get solutions like yours, and we have these super human type AI capabilities, they know multiple different ways of selling. They have all the information in the company at their disposal, and information about the client they have all these data points to work with. And if every company, let's say in the future, is using similar level of AI on their sales teams, does that level? I guess the question can be answered in two ways. Does that level set the playing field? Because obviously the standard in sales is not consistent. It's all over the map, and the experience is all over the map. But does that set a standard? Is that going to be an area of differentiation of your sales process within the AI? I guess it's a bit of a multi-part question, but just kind of curious there.
Yeah, it's going to be a while before, hopefully everybody adopts something like this right away, but it's not happening. So those that do will have a competitive advantage 100% because they're making it easy for their buyers. They're creating a better experience. And then yes, once everybody does start adopting something like this, I think it will start to level set. And I think what it ends up doing is saying, now the best product is going to win for the solution. And ultimately, that's what we should be focusing on. As a product owner myself, man, if I could just focus on building, all my energy went into building the best product versus all of my energy going into the sales process, I would every day do that, right? If I didn't have to hire, sorry to all my sellers, but they know this, but if I didn't have to hire all of them because they're still navigating their org, I still use sellers. But I will tell you that Mindy, our superhuman, has created over 80% of our pipeline, our opportunities to date. She's influencing almost all of them. So she has a conversation and moves the deal forward. And our deal cycles are incredibly short as a result of having our superhuman. So because buyers get the information. So at the point where I don't need the sellers anymore, that's great. And then it's just let the best product win. If it's let the best product win, right now we have a competitor in the market and they're larger than us. They've been around a little bit longer. So they're in more opportunities. They're winning because they're in more opportunities. In that world where we all are in every opportunity because it is like a level playing field, I will dominate every time. I believe in my product. So, and I'm sure the CEO of that company feels the same way, that they believe in their product, but touch wood, we have yet to lose to them. So when we're in the opportunity, and I would welcome that world as somebody who loves to build product.
I love it. Amanda, I appreciate you coming on the show, telling us about AIs within the entire sales discipline and go to market. And if somebody does have a question, if they have a follow-up, what's a good way of connecting? LinkedIn
is the best way. First name, last name, LinkedIn. Amanda Kahlow.
Love it. I appreciate your time. Thanks for being on the show again.
Great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, that's it for this episode. Be back again. Different guest, different topic. Until then, two things. One, I think this episode with Amanda and where salespeople and sales AI will be now and in the future. Obviously, lots of different areas we talked about, and change management, talk about leveling the playing field, lay the best product win. Tons of information in this one. So hopefully you'll share it with somebody else who might be interested. Also, like, subscribe, comment. Let me know how the show's going for you. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.